FanDuel TV racing analyst. Welcome to the program. First of all, tell us what FanDuel has going on. You heard us talk about it there. And then tell us about the field in this race. What horses should we keep an eye out on here, Gabby?
Well, guys, I'm so excited to be on here with you guys to talk a little bit about the Kentucky Derby, but also, I'm really excited that FanDuel's finally on site for the Kentucky Derby this year. In years past, we haven't had this extensive of coverage, and we are on site today, tomorrow, Saturday as well. So it's not just the Kentucky Derby. There's so many races being run from now until the Derby, but no, I'm just excited about it. Obviously, the $20 no sweat win bet opportunity there for new customers too. And we're just excited to get to it. And this year's Derby, you guys, I've covered several Derbies in my career, and this is one of those races this year. Last year, you could pick anyone. I thought that it was a wide open field. But this year, I think the two favorites, which are Fierceness and Sierra Leone, they really do look like the class of the field. And I think the race this year is probably going to go between one of them. I prefer Fierceness for Todd Pletcher. He's won the Derby before. He has Johnny Velazquez, who's a Hall of Famer. He's won the Derby several times before in the past as well. So I just think the connections, they've got this horse right where they want him this coming Saturday.
All right, Gabby, so one thing that I look at when I'm trying to bet, obviously we see the odds, we see the cool names. That's really how I try to bet horse racing. But how important is a starting stall when we're looking at this horse race, whether you're betting it or you're just watching to try and figure out who could be the winner?
So it depends on their running style. So sometimes horses, when you look at horses run in a pack right around the racetrack. And sometimes we say horses are forwardly placed. So they'll be kind of the front runners in the pack. Then you have mid-pack runners who are in the middle. And then you have what we call closers who will close from off of the pace. They will be making that last move. Sierra Leone, who's one of the favorites, he's one of those horses that's going to be making one of those last moves. He has no early speed, and he has post position number 2. That could be a big problem because he has 19 other horses in front of him to go around. So I think that was probably the trainers, the owner of the two, Sierra Leone, they probably weren't crazy about that post position. And on the opposite side, Fierceness, he now draws, I think now he, with the scratch of Encino, now I think he's coming out of stall 16. It's not an issue for this horse. I like him with this outside post position. And guys, keep in mind that sometimes, we like to look at stats and we like to look at stalls and the starting gate and which stalls have been more successful. But recently, in the past couple of years, they actually installed a new starting gate. It's a 20-horse starting gate that they don't use frequently. Obviously, we don't really have a lot of 20-horse. We don't have any 20-horse fields in North America except the Derby. So those stats, I don't think, because of the sample size, it's kind of hard to rely on it. But I will say post 20 is difficult to overcome, not impossible. The recent trends post 4 and under, so 1, 2, 3, 4, it's been really hard for horses to win from those post positions.
All right, Gabby, Justified was the last Triple Crown horse back in 2018, but do you see any potential Triple Crowners in this field?
I do. Honestly, I do. I think Fierceness could be any kind of horse. He is incredibly fast, and on his best day, he is lengths faster than the rest of the field. But he has some quirks, and he hasn't always been the most consistent athlete. And that's the biggest question for him is, can he deliver his A game? Because if he can, every horse is going to be running behind him.
Quirky is how I was described in middle school. So I'm happy to hear horses can be quirky too. What about an exacta box pick or a trifecta box? Is there anything you're looking at this Sunday that you would say would be, hey, this is where I'm leaning? These are horses you can see finishing 1, 2 or in top 3.
Okay, so I like to look at recent trends, and we have these qualifying races that offer points for the winners and the second place finishers and third place finishers. So essentially, these horses, they run in these qualifying races and they earn points, which then in turn get them into the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby. The two strongest prep races are the Florida Derby and the Santa Anita Derby. So I am taking the winners of both of those races. Fierceness won the Florida Derby and Stronghold won the Santa Anita Derby. Those are going to be my top two selections. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Depending on the weather, it could pour. It could absolutely pour. And if we're dealing with a really wet track, I like Mystic Dan. He is a horse that loves a wet track. And it's funny because sometimes I've seen this in the past where horses that have a name, like a person's name within their name, like Mystic Dan, they get bet because there are a lot of Dans out there.
Right.
And they want to bet this horse. So that's not the reason why I like him. But obviously, if it rains, keep an eye out for Mystic Dan.
What's your favorite Derby moment? Whether a fan or an analyst or whatevs, over the years, what's been your favorite Kentucky Derby moment?
I will say American Pharaoh, that whole Triple Crown season. So Justify was the most recent Triple Crown winner, but American Pharaoh, he got the job done. And it was, in my career, amazing because I was at all three jewels of the Triple Crown, including the Belmont when he finally won the Triple Crown. And it just really gives you chills, even thinking back to that horse. He was such a tremendous athlete and a rare talent that we've seen in recent history. So I'd have to say that one. That one was pretty fun.
When we're talking career here, I just got to know, how do you get into being a horse racing expert?
Yeah.
You follow it, you cover it so well. And like you said, like right away you went to American Pharaoh. You said the chills you got. But how did you find your way into finding this avenue, carving out this path, and really turning into obviously something you love to do into a career? Because it's so interesting to me, A, to know what you know about horse racing, and B, really turn into the career that you have, Gabby.
Well, I didn't always thought that I was going to pursue a career in media. I actually thought I was going to be a graphic designer at like some boutique place in DC, like, creating banner ads. Honestly, that's what I went to school for. And it changed for me because I did see this opportunity in media and horse racing, and it really piqued my interest. But why I'm so knowledgeable, I've watched a lot of races, but my parents were actually trainers. My dad was a longtime trainer in Maryland. My mom, once he retired, kind of picked up the business in the stable. And actually now my sister currently is a trainer, so in Maryland. So yeah, it definitely, I've had family members that have been in the industry, different positions within the industry. And that's why I kind of have the knowledge and I think the desire for it.
Gabby, let's get down to business here. Fellow Marylander like you. Listen, I lived in Pimlico for a long time. I covered the Preakness as a pro for a long time, and it was some of the most drunk, sloppy people I've ever seen in my life. I've always looked at the Derby from the outside as a classier joint. Is the Derby a classier joint, or is it a rager just like the Preakness is?
It's an absolute rager. Now, there's not going to be any
Let's
running. No, it's a total rager, guys. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've had some not so proud moments at the Kentucky Derby, just attending as a fan. But yeah, don't you remember like back in the day for the Preakness, the running of the porta potties?
Oh yeah.
These people were crazy. They would get on the porta potties and have races at the Preakness.
Yeah.
Once I saw a guy being dragged out like in a kiddie pool.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they got the kiddie pool in the infield. It was crazy, crazy times. But no, people at the Kentucky Derby, trust me, they know how to have fun.
Gabby, they would run on top of those porta potties, and people would chuck beers at them while they were running across. It was insane.
Wouldn't catch me up there. All right, Gabby, last one I got for you. I'm betting on Mugatu solely off the name, solely because it's Zoolander. How stupid am I to bet on Mugatu at 81-1?
Well, he first has to get into the race. So he is on what we call an also eligible list. So there has to be one more defection out of the race in order for him to actually run, which is possible. So we'll find all of that information out. I think it's Friday at 9 a.m. is this what we call scratch time. So there's still hope that Mugatu will run in this race. As of now, he's not in, but I'm telling you, Zoolander is the most quoted movie in my household. I mean, I could quote, I don't know, the entire movie. It's one of the best movies of all
You know
time.
where it's why male models? But why male models? Gabby, you're the best. Thanks for that.
You're the best. We'll end it with some blue steel here. Gabby Gaudet, FanDuel TV racing analyst. We appreciate you coming through. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure.